Okay, so there's 3 factors of increasing activity. So there's frequency, intensity, and duration. Frequency is how often you do it, intensity is how hard it is, and duration is how long you do it. Proper training principles, and this is still training, you're training for life at this point, but ultimately you might be training for sport or surfing or cycling or whatever. You only manipulate one variable at a time. Even if you were an Olympian, you would only manipulate one variable at a time. So for example, let's say you've been biking twice a week and you've been doing it for 30 minutes for like an intensity of 5. If you decided I want to bike another day, you wouldn't go longer and harder at the same time. That is setting you up for an injury. Also, initially this 10% rule doesn't really apply because you're doing so little, but ultimately when you're doing fairly consistent activity, don't increase by more than 10% at a time. So here's an example of that. Let's say you're training for a marathon and your long run is 20 miles. Your next long run should not be more than 22 miles. That's just good training principles. So that applies to your feet, at your foot as well. So if you are starting to do your weight bearing and you start out and you're just touching the ground with your foot and you're only doing it for an hour, you can either do it for 2 hours the next day with the same amount of touch, or you can do it for an hour with a little more touching, but not both.
If you're a patient at Apex Wellness Providers, this video has been made for you to help assist in your technique for your health and wellness journey. If you're not a patient, please use this for educational and entertainment purposes and is never a substitute for your own individual medical advice.